What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We're here for round number 10 of Season 4 of our Jaguar racing career, and we are coming off the back of a race win, our second race win of the season in Canada. We obviously picked up our first in Bahrain as well, and between those two races there was a big drought in victories. Just couldn't seem to get the result no matter how hard I tried, but we're finally back, and we're finally going to be hopefully getting to a point where we can start contending for the championship as we wanted to be all the way back at the beginning of the season. We are currently sat in P2 in the Drivers' Championship after the solid result of last time. We're still more than 30 points down on Lando Norris though, so it's not going to be as straightforward as just we win this race and we get back ahead of him, but hopefully we can have a good result here in Austria as well to catch up with him. You know, I'm sure if you've watched this series before, that I do tend to do pretty well around Austria. Usually it comes more through luck than through sheer performance. Not to say that I'm bad around this circuit or anything like that. I actually think this is probably one of my strongest circuits on the calendar, in no small part due to the fact that it probably is, in my opinion, the most beginner-friendly circuit in Formula 1. It is, you know, just a series of a few corners here and there, nothing particularly difficult. So fairly easy to get your head around as a beginner. And likewise, someone like me who's got thousands of hours in these games at this point, I also find that you know, I can get a lap hooked up around here pretty nicely. So yeah, I'm thinking that we should be hopefully contending for you know, around pole position hopefully, and then we should be at the sharp end of the grid, and hopefully we can get a little bit of luck going our way to hopefully maybe get us our second win in a row. In practice we had pretty good pace, and our consistency was actually very good in this practice session. I was incredibly happy with when we did the race strategy program. I was basically sort of perfectly matching the delta, I guess. Like I said, the pace still maybe leaves a little bit to be desired, but in terms of the level of consistency I was demonstrating, I was very happy with that. Now it is going to be a wet qualifying session. No time to prepare for this because it was a dry practice session. This is the only time it's going to be raining all weekend, and honestly this may work in my favor because I don't know if I have the pace to match these guys on the dries so much, but certainly when you got into the wet compound tire, it seems like it may possibly be a bit of a neutralizing factor, I guess. Rain, I do sometimes describe it as the great neutralizer. In my racing league, we find that sometimes when it rains I tend to do a lot better than when it stays dry, which is why I haven't done very well this season, because it's only rained in a sprint so far and not at all in any of the races. So we do a 1:15.1 to kick things off on the wet compound tyres, and I'm sure we will be going again towards the end of the session to make sure we can get a good run in. That said, we actually don't improve on our second lap here. We tried to. I think the rain maybe got marginally heavier, either that or I just did a worse run, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, nonetheless, we were about a tenth slower on this occasion, and so we're going to stay P8, and we're still through to Q2 regardless, but hopefully we can demonstrate some slightly stronger performance than that in Q2 and Q3. Kevin Magnussen there in P4, hopefully he can keep up that level of performance. I'll be very happy to see him in P4 at the end of Q3 to hopefully get himself a strong haul of points to hopefully move our team up the order a little bit in the Constructors' Championship, and hopefully I'll be right up there with him. No surprises here. Joe, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Stroll, Sonoda and De Vries eliminated. No Charles Leclerc in there today, which, you know, is fine because we got off onto a strong start in the rivalry against him in Canada, with him being eliminated in Q1 and then also failing to really make much of a dent in the top 10 in the race as well. We make our way into Q2 now. We're on the wet still, and our first flying lap here is a 1:14.8, which is good enough for P3 at the time that I've set it, but I would wage to say probably will get beaten over the course of the session. So yeah, we'll see where we are come the end of the session. We're currently in P10, and I believe everyone has crossed the line at this point, so even if I don't improve, I will just about be making it through to Q3, and we'll just see where I finish at the end of the session as we make our way through the last few corners. Actually, we had a pretty solid sequence of corners. Managed to make up a little bit of time, a couple of tenths through the last couple of corners. Across the line, it's a 1:14.4. We just dip into the 1:14.4s, and that's good enough for P2. So if we can get that level of performance in Q3 as well, I'll be very, very happy with that. So yeah, Oscar Piastri going fastest there, myself second, and disappointingly, Magnussen is actually eliminated from the session in P13. Is a long way off the P4 that he got in the last session, and I'm pretty sure he actually did a slower run here. So yeah, not sure what that's about. But in any case, he joins up with Ocon, Gasly, Pourchaire, Hulkenberg, and Lawson as the drivers who are eliminated here in Q2. Yeah, very disappointing for Magnussen. Hopefully he can make his way through the field. It's an easy track to overtake at, lots of overtaking opportunities with the DRS especially. Yeah, hopefully he can at least score a few points in tomorrow's race. I wouldn't want him to be walking away empty-handed for the second weekend in a row, especially if I'm going to be challenging up the sharp end of the grid, which I hope I will be. We'll see exactly where we're going to be. We do a 1:14.5 to start things off here in Q3. Leclerc currently fastest, I believe, with a 1:14.2 there or thereabouts, something like that. And as we make our way into the final sector, we are up by about a tenth and a half, but I don't know where this is going to be good enough for, as we currently see ourselves in P8. We definitely are going to improve here, but it's not quite clear by how much. As we make our way through the final couple of corners, it's only going to be about a 2/10 improvement. I think it's going to be a 1:14.3 as we cross the line, and that is going to put us P2. Okay, that's actually better than I was expecting it was going to be. So yeah, very happy with that.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Oscar Piastri, Robinson, and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Oscar Piastri setting pole position once again. Maybe he'll be able to convert it at long last. It's been a long time actually since Oscar Piastri has had a victory. If he's even had a victory at all, he definitely hasn't had one this season. I feel like he has had one in previous seasons, but I may be talking out of my backside on that one. Nonetheless, you know, his teammate has had a victory this season, and I'm sure that he will also want to get one. There's quite a few drivers who've had 2 victories this season, myself being one of them, Perez being another, Norris being another, Verstappen being the other one. Nobody has had 3 victories yet. Can we be the first to get 3 victories this season? We'll find out as we get into the sprint for the Austrian Grand Prix.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Robinson completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Hauger, Perez, Albon, Sainz, Ocon, Gasly, Magnussen, Théo Pourchaire, Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, Joe, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
Strategy very straightforward in the sprints, of course. We are going to be going on a set of soft compound tyres to the end. Leclerc there starting on the mediums, actually. I think that's a mistake personally, especially with how chaotic Austria tends to be in these career modes. I feel like I've never had a race here which has gone 100%, you know, how you would hope a race would go, you know, full green flag running, no safety cars, no red flags, that kind of thing. It just doesn't happen around here. It's because of the way the pit lane is set up. If one person gets damaged, they are going to be a hazard for whoever is nearby them when they try and enter the pit lane. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how this one goes. But hopefully we can challenge Piastri. We'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and I think Piastri had a marginally better getaway than me, but I am right alongside him actually as we go on the run down to turn 1. We're going to be on the inside though, and that's going to allow him to sweep around the outside, and we can't get ahead of Oscar Piastri off the start on this occasion. We are still in P2 at the moment. Leclerc all the way down to P5 already. Perhaps not that surprising given that he was starting on the mediums compared to Russell and Norris, who were both on the soft compound tyres. So yeah, we are going to be already a second ahead of George Russell, and hopefully we can keep hold of that gap for the next couple of laps at the beginning here of the sprint race here in Austria. But yeah, my performance not great so far. Feels like I'm braking a tad early for the corners and turning in a tad early as well, but perhaps that's just because I'm used to the braking performance not being fantastic. I've had a few people in the comments suggest to me that perhaps I could change my my tyre temp settings. At the moment I believe I am playing on surface and carcass temps, but some people were suggesting I should play at least on surface temps, if not turn it off entirely, with how difficult the overheating has been. I've had this issue in basically every Formula 1 game I've ever played when it comes to tyre temperatures and overheating. But I mean, Austria, if there's any track that is not going to happen at, it has to be Austria, surely. The track is basically just a bunch of straights. George Russell diving up the inside here and almost managing to make the move stick, but unfortunately going up the inside at that corner is just not a good play unless you know you're going to get the car slowed down quickly enough to be able to make the corner, because otherwise you're just going to be diving directly into the side of my car and holding yourself up quite a lot. And I think that's what George Russell did on that occasion. But when we make our way onto lap 3, he is going to have DRS now, and I'm sure that will enable him to make a bit more of a go of things here. He's going to go to the inside once again. He's briefly ahead, but once again, the outside line just gives me the superior traction, the better line, and allows me to stay ahead of George Russell. He is 6/10 down on us, and he will not be posing any further threat, you would have to assume, in the course of this lap. We make our way onto lap 5 now. We're looking at Liam Lawson in the Williams, riding on top of his helmet here. And, well, I'm sure you know the only reason I'd be showing you a car this far down the grid is because something happened to him. And that is a mechanical failure of some sort. Not sure whether it's engine related or gearbox related, but in any case, Liam Lawson will take no further part in this sprint and be starting from the back in the Grand Prix itself. So, yeah, disappointment for him, but we've got to keep soldiering on, and George Russell is definitely going to keep soldiering on as he moves up the inside of me here, and he takes P2 at a very, very unorthodox location there as we get into the final couple of corners. George Russell said, "I'll have that, thank you very much," but I'm going to try and have it back now around the outside. Lando Norris dives between the two of us. What was he thinking? There's a safety car out, and I'm not surprised. I have no idea what Lando Norris was hoping to achieve there. George Russell and me were basically wheel to wheel going into turn 1, and Lando Norris said, "Oh, I think I see a gap in between those two. How about I just stick my wheels in there?" Absolutely zero racing intelligence from Norris there, and has absolutely ruined mine, his and George Russell's race. Norris got damage, he's gone to the back. I've got major floor damage, and Russell has a 5-second time penalty, supposedly for causing that collision, even though it was absolutely Lando Norris's fault. I have no idea what Norris was hoping to achieve there. We get back racing underway on lap 9, and well, we're still running in P2. We've got George Russell as a bit of a buffer here, because if he's got damage, then maybe he'll be able to hold up the cars behind, and even if he doesn't, he's got a 5-second penalty, which means if he does overtake, like he's trying to do now up the inside at this location where he's tried to overtake me many times, he still can't make it work, but that's okay. Yeah, even if he does get ahead of us, he has that 5-second penalty, which means that we should hopefully be able to keep him behind for the duration of the Grand Prix. Yeah, really bizarre state of affairs there with Lando Norris. Really can't wrap my head around what he was hoping to achieve. But hopefully we can hold on to this now. George Russell probably is going to mount another attack on us this time in the same corners where he overtook us before. He's going to try to go around the outside this time. That's a bold move to go for on someone who has orange floor damage. You know, I'm not going to be able to get the car slowed down in quite the way that I think George Russell would hope I'd be able to. And subsequently, he has to pull out of the move a little bit there. And we are up still in P2. So yeah, a couple laps left to go. Here's George Russell putting more pressure on me as we come around the hairpin, and he's got on the curb a bit too much there, and he's had a spin as well. Leclerc has gone into him, and he's going to be held up as basically a complete barrier for Leclerc there. And yeah, George Russell in a bit of an embarrassing situation there. Lots of cars trying to make their way through. George Russell blocking these guys off. I'm surprised George Russell doesn't get another penalty for that. You know, he's putting himself at risk of disqualification there. I know it wasn't his fault necessarily, or rather, you know, he just lost control. He didn't do anything maliciously, but still, George Russell, I think, very lucky not to avoid to avoid disqualification there. Meanwhile, we round the final corner, and we are going to take P2 here in the sprint. Nothing else really happened there. Piastri came home to take the sprint win. Obviously, it's not a race win, but yeah, he's still going to be picking up a victory this season. Tsunoda getting driver of the day there, and we are going to be picking up 7 points.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. It was not the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow, where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye.
So yeah, the end of that race, George Russell just, you know, he kind of caused a bit of a traffic jam, which meant that everyone was so far behind me that I didn't end up coming under any more pressure for the remainder of the race after that. It was very straightforward for me. I was able to just cruise home to P2, even with that floor damage. Sergio Perez was catching me towards the end by about 2 seconds a lap, but you know, he was still too far behind for it to make a difference. So that is one session down. We've scored 7 points already, and hopefully we can have another good session in the Grand Prix itself. We will see what we can do as we get into the Austrian Grand Prix.
Welcome to the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of this famous race. It's time for the Austrian Grand Prix. "700 meters above sea level, 10 corners, and one of the shortest laps of the season. 2.6 miles with some good overtaking opportunities, but you've got to get the braking right into turn 1 and turn 3. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Robinson completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Hauger, Sainz, Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Teo Porcher, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Norris, Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, Joe, Stroll, Fittipaldi, De Vries, Russell, and Liam Lawson. And now it's time to head down to the track. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen? And Anthony Davidson joins me in the commentary box for this once again. And they've gone beyond their allocation of changes allowed. It means they're going to be taking a grid drop, and it could be a tough race in store.
It's unfortunate, but it happens to everyone at some point. You just have to accept your fate, knuckle down, and get on with the business of making up that deficit during the Grand Prix. So they'll be pushing hard today. One to watch for sure.
Well, Lando Norris is going to be starting down in P13, and if you're wondering what that means if I can get ahead of his former teammate Oscar Piastri here, then I have the potential to pull alongside Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. Obviously, it requires Norris to not score any points here, and I think that's quite unlikely. He probably will make his way through the field, if I had to guess. But yeah, if we can win with fastest lap, then we will be tied on points with Lando Norris if he fails to score here. So yeah, maybe an extra incentive for us to do well here. We are going to be starting on the medium compound tyres. You may think that this is a bold move, but you know what I'm like. I wear out the tyres much quicker than the rest of the cars on the grid, and so I think that going onto the mediums and then switching onto the hards would be a good idea. We'll have to make sure we can react to safety cars and things like that, because I'm sure they will be aplenty, but we'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out. I rushed through the ending of the sentence there a little bit, but I actually had more time than I thought. Piastri does cover me off again, but Perez on the soft compound tyres gets a better start than both of us, and he is up into P1 from the beginning there. From P3 on the grid, he has made up 2 positions already, and now I'm coming under pressure from my former teammate Dennis Hauger as well. He is going to try and go around the outside of me into turn 3 there. He can't quite make the move stick on this occasion, and that is us going to be holding on to P3 for the time being. But yeah, disappointing to lose out to Sergio Perez there. Not really sure if there was anything that could have been done to avoid that. Felt like I had a pretty good start, but you know, he was on the superior compound of tyres, much more grip, much less wheel spin, and yeah, he leads the Austrian Grand Prix, gunning for his 3rd win of the season so far. He had a couple of wins earlier on, I believe in Baku and Miami, if I'm not mistaken. You know, he is of course the king of Baku, so perhaps it doesn't come as that much of a surprise, but you know, Austria is not a street circuit, so if Perez can win here, then I will take my hat off to him. He definitely will have deserved it for the level of performance that he has shown this weekend, especially considering I don't think he started particularly high up the grid either, so he's had to make his way through. And as we make our way now onto lap 3, we are going to be coming under pressure once again from my former teammate Dennis Hauger, and this time it's not even really that close. He's already a long way ahead by the time we get to the corner, and he has booted me off the podium. Hauger, I know for a fact, has not had a podium so far in his Formula 1 career, and at the moment he is gunning for his very first one. I'm going to try and fight him back though, round the outside here, and well, he almost runs us off the circuit. We are going to pull alongside him, but I think he's going to have slightly superior traction here. There's a yellow flag behind. Seems like a bit of a pile-up going on. Not quite sure what has happened there, but there is a safety car and then a red flag immediately afterwards. So already the chaos that I predicted would happen here has happened on lap 3. We were not even able to do 3 laps of running before this, and we will see what this is going to be. We're looking at Théo Pourchaire here, and he arrives at the scene of the accident. That's 2 Ferraris there hitting one another. I think it's Charles Leclerc who went round this time. Now obviously he's the one that got held up by George Russell when he did the same thing in the sprint, and now Charles Leclerc has gone round and held up his teammate Carlos Sainz on this occasion. You know, he just can't catch a break, Leclerc there. Pourchaire and Sargent were eliminated because they made contact there that ended their race. But we'll see if we can get a good start here as the lights come on again. And the lights go out, and we've had a good one compared to Dennis Hauger there. We are up into P2 here because we've jumped Piastri as well. Gasly is going to put some pressure on us. We got a bit of a contact from Piastri there on our rear tyre, but we have managed to hold on nonetheless, and we're going to be in P2 here once again. So this is where we started the Grand Prix. Piastri going to try and go up the inside of us, but I don't think he's going to be able to make the move stick. Another yellow flag. I think that's just for cars following each other quite slowly. Don't think there's been any moments there. And yeah, we currently find ourselves running in 2nd place. Perez leading by over 2 seconds. He's just booked it. And by the time we make our way onto lap 10, Perez is a long way ahead of the field now. He is just checked out of this Grand Prix completely. Piastri's fallen down the order quite a bit. I think maybe he got some damage or he has some kind of car issue or something like that. And that has allowed Dennis Hauger to make his way into P3 once again. He's putting some pressure on me. Tries to dive up the inside there. Can't quite make the move stick. But don't be surprised if he goes for another attempt here. And by the time we get to the corner, here's a full car length ahead. We're going to try and dive around the outside of him. All we end up doing is running ourselves off the track and probably neutralising any chance we would have had to get ahead of Dennis Hauger through this DRS zone. And so Dennis Hauger is in P2, and he is looking like a very good shout for the podium here in the Austrian Grand Prix. Now obviously I want to do as well as I possibly can, but I have to say, as someone who is still a very big fan of Dennis Hauger, even if we did have to drop him for our team's own interests, I would be very, very pleased to see him do well here. And if I can't get a podium, I certainly hope that we see him on the podium come the end of the Grand Prix. Verstappen, his teammate, attacking us into turn 1 here. We do manage to hold him off for the time being, but for how long can we keep the 2-time world champion at bay? Of course, in real life, he is a 3-time world champion, but canonically, in this series, it was George Russell who took home the world championship in 2023 and 24 for that matter, and then Valtteri Bottas, prior to his retirement, picked up a world championship in 2025. We're currently running in the 2026 season, of course, and it seems like it could be anyone's game so far. You know, Norris, Verstappen, Perez, myself emerging as the sort of contenders, but Piastri and Albon looking like they might be in with a shout as well. Verstappen piling a lot of pressure on me now as we make our way to the end of lap 13. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him overtaking us sooner rather than later. As we get to turn 1, he's going to be a full car length ahead. I thought about trying to sail around the outside of him, but we just couldn't make it work. Our tyres starting to go off here. We've been on them for about 10 laps at this point since the red flag, and now we're coming under pressure from Gasly as well. He's going to be held up behind Max Verstappen. We're going to switch to the outside here, and we end up running ourselves off the track once again, but we do get ahead of Gasly. However, it is an illegal overtake, so we're being obliged to give it back. I'm going to try and do it as strategically as we possibly can. So he pulls alongside us, gets slightly ahead of us into the hairpin, and then we can maneuver our way around the outside of him. It's like we didn't really even give the place back to him, but it counts according to the game, and that was very, very strategic from me, trying to go 5,000 IQ there for a second to make sure I could hold on to that position. We are now going to be making our way onto lap 18 and starting lap 19, and as we do so, Perez and Verstappen coming into the pit lane. They are going to be going onto the medium compound of tyres. I believe our strategy is going to be to go onto the soft compound tyres again, which we're going to be doing at the end of lap 20. Hauger pitting at the end of lap 19 there from the lead of the race, actually, because he pitted slightly later. I believe he should be coming out hopefully in net P3, but we will see whether that rings true or not, whether Piastri has jumped him or not. Perez making his way through. He's already pitted, so he's a full pit stop ahead of me here. And I think Norris is yet to pit. So the net positions, the net top 3 at the moment is Perez, Hauger, Verstappen. And I don't know where I'm going to be, whether maybe some cars manage to jump me off of the undercut or something like that. We will see what happens as we come in now for our pit stop. We are going to be going onto the soft compound tyres, hopefully to the end of the Grand Prix, barring any incidents or anything like that. But we will see what position we come out in. Obviously, Perez is ahead of us. Hauger is going to be going ahead of us, as is Verstappen. Norris and Piastri coming into the pit lane now. So those guys definitely won't be ahead of me. Here is Albon. He's going to be going through, and I think that is going to be more than enough at the gap for Albon to hold on to this. And in fact, Esteban Ocon is going to be quite close to us on the pit exit here. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep him behind, so we could be all the way down in P6 here by the looks of things. We're going to be in P5 no matter what. But Ocon trying to dive up the inside here. He's a lot further ahead than most people get when they go for that move, but still, it's not enough. I'm looking here and observing that George Russell has somehow managed to get himself a 5-second penalty again. He got one in the sprint. I have absolutely no idea what this one was for. But George, a naughty boy this weekend. Things really not going very well for him. We're looking at the battle for P2 here between Verstappen and Hauger. And don't worry, Verstappen had got ahead of Dennis Hauger by this point, so it's only Max Verstappen retiring from the Grand Prix. My heart sank when I saw an Aston Martin retiring. But yeah, fortunately Dennis Hauger still going there in P2. And hopefully he'll be able to hold on to this. He's got a 6-second advantage over Alex Albon, who's running in P3. Ocon going for a move up the inside once again here. And once again, nobody can overtake me into that spot as hard as they try. The outside line proving superior. So that's what I've got to do. I've got to stick to the outside and make sure that we don't let anyone go through there. P4 would be a good result here, but I would ideally like a podium. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. We don't seem to have the pace to match Albon, so I've just got to consolidate whatever result I can get here. Oscar Piastri is out of the session as well, and that has brought out another red flag. We'll see what happened with him in a minute. But that could change everything here. It's going to mean that we can box again, maybe get a good start and maybe make a bit of a jump on some of the cars ahead of us. But let's see what happened to Oscar Piastri to warrant bringing out a red flag here. He's going on the run to turn 3. It looks like it's a mechanical failure, actually. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. I guess maybe it is just a mechanical failure. Maybe he made some contact with Gasly there. Not sure. It didn't look like he did, to be honest with you. He was quite close to it, but yeah, just a mechanical failure. And have to bring out a red flag. Maybe it was the fact that Verstappen was stopped on track as well. I don't know. In any case, the recommended strategy here is to go on to a third set of soft compound tyres in this race and take them 10 laps to the end. I think that they're going to last perfectly fine for 10 laps. You know, we're on low fuel. Everything should be okay here. And, well, maybe, like I said, this presents an opportunity for us to get a good start and jump our way back onto the podium for a third time in this race. The lights come on. And the lights go out. Albon had a good getaway, it seemed, but then he just kind of went nowhere. Hauger's on the hard tyres. Dennis, no, what are you doing? We dive up the inside of him, but we force ourselves off the track. Somehow, we're not commanded to give the position back, even though we actually did make a bit of contact there with Hauger, which was deemed to be my fault as well. But yeah, Dennis Hauger on the hard tyres. I don't understand what the boy is doing there. Why not just go onto a set of softs, Dennis? Why the hards? Why the hards of all the tyres? Dennis, why? Yeah, I was so distraught when I saw that, quite frankly, because I knew that was Dennis Hauger's chance of a podium gone. Completely gone. His first podium in Formula 1 in the bin. We're coming under pressure from Alex Albon. We're going to be battling him over P2, no doubt. Sergio Perez is going to absolutely disappear in this race. I'd say there's no chance we're going to beat him now unless there's another red flag or a safety car or something, which, you know, it is Austria. It's not out of the question. Albon makes the overtake. He's up into P2 now, but we're going to see if we can get him back. We had a very good run through the final corner there. We're going to use the slipstream, pull to the outside here as we come on the run to turn 1, see if we can dive around the outside of him, and we actually managed to pull off the move. Albon holding himself up a little bit there as he defends to the inside of the corner, and so that, I think, is going to allow us to get ahead here into turn 3. And well, actually, he's being pressured now by Esteban Ocon, who might have made his way through. Not quite sure. Albon does hold on to it for the time being, but yeah, I don't know whether he'll be able to hold off Ocon. He's going to pressure us once again into turn 1 here as we begin lap 30. And yeah, we managed to keep him behind for now, but I don't know if we're going to be able to hold off Albon for the entire duration of the the Grand Prix that remains. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he does eventually get an overtake done on us as we begin at lap 31 now. I think he's going to go for another move up the inside at turn 1. He's been really enjoying going for these moves, even though they just aren't working for him. And once again, he holds himself up quite dramatically. Tsunoda is out. There's a safety car, and yeah, it seems like maybe he's stopped in the middle of the track. Seems like both Alfa Romeos are stopped in the track there, actually. Not sure if maybe there was a coming together between them or something like that. I guess we will see what happened regarding those guys. In any case, there is a safety car, and that is maybe going to allow us a chance to put some pressure on Sergio Perez. But let's see what happened here. So Tsunoda hits Hauger, who was coming into the pits for some reason, maybe because of some prior damage or something like that. And then I'm not sure what happened there. I think that was Norris coming back onto the track, just slams into the side of Tsunoda and just destroys him. So yeah, Norris actually had to pit for damage as well. So the final 2 slots on the order being taken up by Hauger and Norris now. The safety car fell through the floor there, as we've seen it do in the past, and Sergio Perez has overtaken it, and he's been disqualified. So we've taken the lead. What on earth is going on here? We are leading the Austrian Grand Prix because Sergio Perez got disqualified for quote-unquote overtaking the safety car when it fell through the floor. I genuinely don't think that you could have written a more chaotic Grand Prix weekend than this. There have been, what, 2 safety cars, 2 red flags, just absolute unadulterated chaos here in Austria this weekend. And there's still 3 laps to go. Maybe it's not over here. Ocon is going to be piling some pressure on us for the victory here. Leclerc might want to get himself involved as well. I don't know where he came from. He was absolutely nowhere. Magnussen has made his way up into P4 here, so he's on for his best result. And we make our way onto the final lap of the Grand Prix. all to play for still. It could be myself, it could be Ocon, it could be Leclerc, it could be Magnussen. It's going to be a fantastic result for Alpine either way, P2 and P5 at the moment. Ocon trying to go for the lead of the Grand Prix, diving up the inside at the corner, which I can't be overtaken at. I've defended there time and time and time and time again, and I defend there one more time. We hold off Ocon, and I think that is probably going to be the last pressure that we come under here. Magnussen, maybe he can get involved in the fight. Maybe he can get himself a first podium of the season. Leclerc and Ocon battling away. I am going to be definitely beating both of these guys now. They're over a second behind me. I'm not going to give this up for love nor money. Leclerc has made his way through into P2. Ocon's attempt to get the lead of the Grand Prix has ended in him losing a position. He's down into P3 now, and we are going to be rounding 2 more corners, and then this is going to be a second consecutive victory for us. We come round the final corner, and we are going to win the Austrian Grand Prix.
Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, staying out of trouble was probably the most important factor here. In a race where half the field weren't classified at the checkered flag, you were able to guarantee a good result by basically keeping the car running. With their pace and a decent strategy as well, I don't think the race was ever really in doubt.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Bloody hell, that was a hell of a race. I was losing my breath, I was going lightheaded, and I record these commentaries after I actually do the race. I don't commentate these live, and I'm just having an absolute blast watching this one back. Such a crazy race. We take our 2nd win in a row, 3rd win of the season. We become the first driver this season to win 3 races, and Leclerc and Ocon complete the podium there. Our rival ends up getting P2. I don't know how he managed it. He was nowhere at times, but he came back to take P2.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. Some amazing talent out there on track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Robinson.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Meanwhile, AlphaTauri's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, we are now just 1 point behind Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship, and we have moved up to 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, just about 20 points behind McLaren, give or take. I don't know how this has happened, but somehow we have had probably the most fortunate weekend I think anyone has ever had in Formula One history, quite frankly, because Lando Norris absolutely bottled it. Perez got disqualified due to something that wasn't even his fault. Verstappen's car broke down. Piastri's car broke down. Russell was nowhere. About the only person who's even close to the fight in the championship who actually had a halfway decent result this weekend was Charles Leclerc, and he's still only on 89 points. You know, more than 40 points behind me in the championship. I moved to within 1 of Lando Norris, like I said, so things are going to get really interesting in the championship right now. Somehow, despite the fact that I was saying a couple races ago, we need to turn things around now, or we are going to be out of championship contention before we realise it. We are right back in it. We are in P2, just 1 point behind the championship leader. We are in our target position in the Constructors' Championship this season. This was a race of changing fortunes, if ever you've seen one. Obviously, there are still 13 races to go this season, and a lot still has the propensity to change. We are not even halfway through, and I tell you, the storyline shaping up this season is turning into an absolute banger. The following race is Great Britain, if I'm not mistaken, and we all know what that means. We know it means that the 2 championship leaders at the moment, Norris and myself, are going to be battling for the win at our home race, and I can't wait to absolutely underperform like crazy in that race to absolutely spoil the hype of that one. So yeah, hopefully you guys will tune into that one to check out what I hope will be a banger, but somehow deep in my heart I know that the performance I will deliver in that one will not quite be what I want it to be. Nonetheless, we had an absolutely fantastic race this time. Things went very, very well for us. We got incredibly lucky, but you know, I don't don't want to take away from the fact that I feel like I also drove particularly well. You know, we had a really, really solid defense that we were putting up there, and well, we just managed to capitalize on the misfortunes of others, which is an important part of Formula One racing. You know, they say you have to be in it to win it. In order to what's the quote from Schumacher? To finish first you must finish, or something like that. And well, Perez didn't. Norris did, but badly. Verstappen didn't. Piastri didn't. All of these guys who could have been there weren't, but we were, and that made the difference, and that is why we walked away with 32 points from this race weekend, and hopefully we can have another fantastic race in my home race in Great Britain. Nonetheless, that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.